Get ready for civil war as Trump is building the standing army. Trump's new executive order hands military power to local cops. Yep, we have the modern day Gestapo forming with this executive order and tyranny forming all around us right now as I'm speaking to you. So here we go. From the Free Thought Project, this was posted by Health Impact News on Telegram. I'll put the link up on the website like I always do. But on April 28th, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order titled Strengthening and Unleashing America's Law Enforcement to Pursue Criminals and Protect Innocent Citizens. Sounds great, right? Yeah, sure, just like the Patriot Act did in 2001. And yet, what did that do? The exact opposite of what it purported to do. It actually gave almost unlimited power to the FBI and all the other alphabet agencies here in the States and eviscerated the Bill of Rights. So the Constitution, in my opinion, has been pretty much dead on arrival since then. And now we have this executive order. And that doesn't even have to go through Congress anymore. Trump just signs everything by decree. So this directive significantly expands the federal government's role in local policing, blurring the lines between civilian law enforcement and military operations. Right. When they're talking about pursuing criminals and protecting innocent citizens here in this statement, what they're really talking about is pursuing innocent citizens and protecting the criminals who are in power right now. That's what it really means. Remember, it's always the opposite of what they tell you. So what it does is it authorizes the transfer of excess military equipment to local police departments, increases federal funding for law enforcement, and provides legal protections for officers accused of misconduct. Yes. So now they can beat your skull in and not get sued for it. That's what that means. I'm just putting it in layman's terms. Critics argue that this move accelerates the militarization of the police and undermines civil liberties. Of course it does. And they've been doing that for 40 plus years now, militarizing the police. If you grew up in the 70s like I did, it used to be that the police were non-threatening. They weren't all militarized and have, their vests and their military type gear on. Never used to be like that. And I used to feel safe as a kid going up and talking to the local cop on the corner who was, sitting there in a speed trap or whatever. I felt comfortable talking to him then, but I certainly don't now. Not whatsoever at all. So, because everything has changed so much. So this executive order mandates that the Attorney General and Secretary of Defense, they're supposed to increase the provision of excess military and national security assets in local jurisdictions to assist state and local law enforcement. So that includes military-grade weapons, vehicles, surveillance equipment, effectively turning local police forces into paramilitary units. Yeah, much like the Gestapo. Such measures raise concern about the erosion of the Posse Comitatus Act, which is supposed to prohibit the use of the military for domestic law enforcement. And of course, they just ignore that because Trump has the power of the pen. And it's amazing how much support he still has doing these things. The very same people who, if you'd have talked to them, 10 years ago, would have said, oh, absolutely not. We can't do that. We can't militarize our police. We can't take away civil liberties and all this stuff. Absolutely not, they would have said. But now that Trump's doing it, oh, it's all fine. It's all good. You're a traitor if you don't like it, Johnny. Just get out. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's what's going on. I'll put the link to this up on the website at don'tspeaknews.com, like I always do. And now this story also has to do with the Trump administration, as bankruptcies and layoffs slam wide range of transportation companies. So we're already starting to see the effects of this almost immediately. So within the month since Trump started these tariffs. So carriers, logistic firms from Florida to Illinois declare bankruptcy in a struggling freight market. This is from a publication called Freight Waves. Layoffs and bankruptcies hit multiple sectors of the supply chain throughout April, as new or soon-to-be imposed tariffs continue to weigh on freight markets. Truck and trailer leasing ahead of Joliet Avenue of Joliet, Illinois, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on April 16th in U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Northern District of Illinois. Star Rail of Cooper, Texas, filed for Chapter 11 on April 11th in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in Texas. LML Logistics of Ocala, Florida, they also filed a Chapter 11 bankruptcy petition. Magazine distributor Accelerate 360 Distribution filed a worker adjustment and retraining notification act notice on Friday on its plans to close South Dakota merchandising work location in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. KDM Logistics Corporation of Chicago, they filed a Chapter 11 on April 4th for the Northern District of Illinois, and Sweet Trucking of Knoxville, Tennessee, filed Chapter 11 in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in Tennessee on April 21st. So all kinds of bankruptcies going, guys, because of these tariffs and the things Trump's doing to the economy. Unreal. So all this winning, I don't know how we can handle it all, right? Wow. And then we're supposed to be having peace and ending the war in Ukraine, and yet now we're sending another $50 million or more to Ukraine for military assistance or defense, I guess it says. So if you thought it was going to change because we went from Biden to Trump, think again. They signed the mineral deal, by the way, both sides did. That's supposed to reconcile the debt that Ukraine owes to the United States. Who gets all the mineral money? All the people that are joined up with BlackRock and so on, I suppose. Anyway, here's the communication from the State Department itself. As the U.S. State Department has sent notice to Congress that they have certified a proposed license under the Arms Export Control Act for another $50 million worth of defense articles for Ukraine. So what happened to no more aid to Ukraine? What happened to negotiating a ceasefire or a peace deal? What happened to all the ongoing meetings between the U.S. and Russia? Guys, it's all a ruse. It's all just a show, just like WWE wrestling. Smoke and mirrors, like the circus, right? The notice describes 50 million or more in defense articles without saying what those defense articles actually are. What are they? Since they require a license under the Arms Export Control Act, it seems logical it's more weapons. So why are we sending more weapons to Ukraine? Is this just some song and dance from governments that say they're working toward peace? Now you're starting to get it, Hal. They say we're negotiating with the Russians, and now, surprise, we're sending more weapons? It's starting to look as though we're being slow walked in a circle. Yep. So that after all the talk for weeks and months is done, we're right back to where we started. Still doing exactly, precisely the same thing that we were doing when all this trouble began. Exactly. They're just dragging people along, stringing people along into thinking there's peace. Just like the Bible says, when they say peace and safety, boom, sudden destruction comes. So it's all a lie. And that's why sudden destruction's coming. Not just for America, but around the world. And then we have this on Hal Turner as well. And it's been around the interwebs. Next round of U.S.-Iran talks suddenly postponed. So according to a source in the Oman Foreign Ministry, the next round of nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran, scheduled for this coming weekend, have suddenly been postponed. This is allegedly due to logistical reasons. This news comes after Trump and Secretary of Defense Hegseth made aggressive postings on social media, and I shared these on my Telegram account earlier. As Trump is now saying that the attacks being made by the Houthi in Yemen, who are hated by the Yemeni people, he says, all emanate from and are created by Iran. See how they're forming this up now? Any further attack or retaliation by the Houthis will be met with great force, and there's no guarantee that the force will stop there. He's saying Iran has played the innocent victim of rogue terrorists from which they've lost control, but they haven't lost control. Trump says that they're dictating every move, giving them the weapons, supplying them with the money and highly sophisticated military equipment, and even so-called intelligence. Yeah, well, he says every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons of the leadership of Iran. And Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences, and those consequences will be dire. And he signed it, Donald J. Trump. So, yeah. It's amazing how hypocritical all of these world leaders are, especially here in the West, in the U.S. And Secretary Hegseth says the same thing essentially to Iran, saying, we see your lethal support to the Houthis and we know what you are doing, and so on and so forth. But I would say hypocrisy much, Trump and Hegseth, because Look at all the weapons we've been sending to Israel as they genocide the entire Palestinian population in Gaza. Just saying. Hypocrisy much? Unreal. So suddenly, this Iran situation is not looking good. The latest development in geopolitical intrigue comes on the same day the U.S. engages in other geopolitical intrigue with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So this morning, it became known that the State Department issued license for another 50 million, as we just looked at. So it appears today, on May 1st, 2025, the U.S. is pivoting to war. Indeed, they are. And that was always the plan all along. Oh, we're going to talk about peace during the election season. We're going to talk about peace when we get into office, keep everybody distracted with all these other things too. I mean, it's a madhouse in the news anymore. And you really need to take a step back at times and unplug yourself, which is what I do more often now than I used to, because I have to. The spiritual warfare is off the scale, not to mention the electronic stuff they hit us with all the time. 5G and above. Did you know they're testing 10G in different parts of Beijing right now? So forget about 5 and 6G. It's already up to 10, and they're already experimenting with it in China. So think about what they have perfected. They're 40, 50 years ahead of what we think they have anyway. And so I put up a video on YouTube the other day about Trump's new helicopter, which doesn't look like a helicopter to me. It looks like something out of Star Wars. So here it is. President Trump's new Marine One was seen departing the Daytona 500. Check this out. This was sent to me by a subscriber. Everybody cheering for Trump, of course. That looks a lot different than what Marine One used to look like. Guys are going to be seeing weapons. Like Trump said, we've got weapons that are so far advanced and destructive. We're not really, nuclear weapons are pretty much obsolete these days. But they want to use up some of them, so I'm sure they will. But that is Marine One, Trump's new helicopter. Wow. Like I said, that's a far cry from what I remember. But there you go. So I will keep my eyes on things as always, guys. And don't forget, don'tspeaknews.com is home base for all that we do. I put a lot of stuff here that we can't speak about anywhere else, including this story right here, as doctors warn of rise in terrifying flesh-eating genital disease. And a grooming mistake could be to blame, but of course, I think we all know what's truly to blame. So stories like that and many others that we can't put anywhere else. And there's over 2,500 now here on the website. And if you want to subscribe or contact me, click on this tab up here. And the email address for Proton Mail is here. And then we also have a box for you to subscribe to the channel, so that every time I put up something new, you'll be notified via email. And this is also at the bottom of every posting. And then for channel support, as we are listener supported only, is right here. All the links to support us. And we thank you much for that, because without you guys, we simply would not be here. And thank you to the subscribers who contributed today. Thank you so much. The timing was excellent. And then we have Rumble, BitChute, Telegram right here. This is all the different places where you can find us, including YouTube, for as long as that lasts, that is. Telegram, Substack, and so on. All the places to find me are right there. And that will be it for now. Time is short, guys. Seek Jesus Christ while there's still time. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.